Welcome to my channel, Fight for Decency. Right off the bat, I want to tell you what I'm all about and what I'm trying to do here. This video and these videos that I put out is simply a video about a strategy that I'm promoting about how to get our country back. Okay. And I would hope that once you understand the strategy and see what it's all about and it makes sense to you, that you would make your own video and put in your own words this strategy and push it forward. And hopefully we'll get enough people to get involved in this and we'll get our country back. I got to say off the bat, it's pretty radical. What I mean by radical is not extreme, it's not way out there. What I mean by radical is to the root, because the definition of radical could also mean uh, getting to the root of things. So, so again, this is about how to get our country back. The first things first, I want to start with some presuppositions. And the first presupposition is that our government right now is not a government of by and for the people. Okay, what we have right now is a group of oligarchs and wealthy corporate executives, and wealthy shareholders that run our country. So we can no longer, we shouldn't call it a government. The government's doing this and the government's doing that. The government passed this law and passed that law. We can't use the word government anymore because the government ideally is you and me. And you and I stopped being in control of our government over 40 years ago. So I'm going to talk, and my speech is going to say the oligarchs. Okay. Right now, the oligarchs are making it really hard for working class people. I don't have to go there. You know that. So here's the strategy. I'm going to lay it out real quick, and then I'm going to expound on it a little bit on this video. Okay. The strategy is, well, first of all, the presuppositions, right? The presupposition, that's the one. We are no longer a government of, by, for the people, and that's what we're doing. We're fighting to get it back. Number two, that in order to get our government back from the neoliberals, we have to have a show of power. We can't protest in the street. We can't, write our congressman. We can't go to Congress and give speeches. None of that. None of that works. We have to have power, a show of real, true blue power. Now, this strategy involves that show of power. And presupposition number three, that we, the people, working class people, know what's good for us and have a heart and an attitude that is, I am my brother's keeper. Those are the presuppositions that I want to lay out first. Okay. Now that we got that out of the way and now we've got the basics down, now I want to tell you a little bit about the strategy. The strategy has to do with nothing. Well, it's actually simple, but not really simple. Your role in getting our country back, there's some prerequisites. It's like, you got to take English 101 in order to go on to get a major in literature and university. It's like you got, in order to do arithmetic, algebra, you have to know arithmetic. Well, this is similar. In order to understand, truly understand, and really get a grasp of what it is that we need to do to get our country back and how we're going to do it, you have to understand, first of all, how we got where we're at. What was the process? What was the leading, driving ideology that got us where we're at? There's a name for that, and that name is called neoliberalism. It's an economic ideology, political economy. It's about economics. And in 1970, in the late 70s, early 80s, something very, very important happened. By 1971, the United States government went off the gold standard. By 1978, late 70s, the neoliberal era started. Milton Friedman, and they've been working on this for 50 years, went in there and said, we're going to change the way we do economics and how we run the country. And since then, all this time, we've been in the neoliberal era, and we've seen working class, the American dream whittle away little at a time to where now people are two paychecks away from disaster and homelessness. And I'm going to get to that here in a little while, how understanding that is very, very important and part of the strategy. The second thing you want to understand is a prerequisite is to understand how modern money works, how sovereign countries who issue their own currency taxes, and spends. It's very important when it comes to how working class people thrive in a society, because you have what's called monetary policy and fiscal policy. So understand what is called modern monetary theory. Now, in the description of this video, I have various videos that you could watch that'll get you set up to understand a little bit more about this strategy. So I've got a 5-part video on YouTube. On the description, it's called "This is Neoliberalism." It has 5 parts, and then I've got Dr. Stephanie Kelton's presidential lecture that gives you a fairly good understanding of how modern money works and modern monetary theory. And then below that, I've got the first step in getting our country back, and that is through free and fair elections. And that is with Professor Lawrence Lessig, who is an expert on how it is we would go about passing legislation to give us free and fair elections, to make our dollar match the rich people's dollar, therefore giving us a chance on a decent society. Okay, so now to the strategy. Here's a strategy. In order to get our country back, we have to have an army. I'll make one quick example. Years ago, Jake Uger from TYT said, I'm gonna go through the Article 5 in the Constitution and call a constitutional convention and get 3/4 of the states to pass an amendment to give us free and fair elections. That was his approach. And he did get maybe 5 states behind this, and they were ready to go, right? And they went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court judge looked at him, and I'm just picturing it, how it all went down, right? And he had his freaking scroll, he had his petition, he rolled it out, and he had about 4 or 5 lawyers behind him, and he had universities, professors behind him saying, this is what the Constitution says, Article 5, we're ready. We're gathering the states, and we're getting ready for a constitutional convention for an amendment to the Constitution to give us free and fair elections. And the judge looked at Cenk Uygur like this, right in his face, and looked over his shoulder and said, "Oh, I see you got about 5 or 6 lawyers there." And then I looked at Cenk Uygur and said, "You and what army? Give me that piece of paper. I got to go to the bathroom." That's how I picture it happen. So understand that you have to have power to get our country back. You can't just put out a piece of paper and piece of paper that says the Constitution says, because they should wipe their butts on the Constitution as much as they care about sovereign nations. And I'll get to that point a little bit later about neoliberalism and what they're all about. So this is how we get power. We have to show ourselves. We have to show that we're an army of people ready to fight. And the way we do that is wear our uniform. And our uniform happens to be something simple, anything that's red and white on your body. I've got red and white wrist silicone bands that put around my wrist. You can put red and white streamers on your vehicle as you drive down the road. And this identifies you as a soldier in the army of getting our country back. And that's your weapon. Your weapon, believe it or not, is simply showing everybody that you're in this army. This is where you're standing in the fight. And then we say to the oligarchs in power that on Labor Day 2027, we, the people in America, are all going to go on a 60-day sabbatical. We're going to be at home. We're going to gather our water, gather our green beans. We're going to make sure we're not going to have babies during this time. We're going to get our medicines. We're going to try and prepare the best we can to make sure that we're secure and safe in our homes for 60 days. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to ask everybody and our neighbors to join us in this sabbatical. And we're going to ask some key people in our society, in our economic society. And those key people are going to be the truck drivers. You see, because you have to have representative government. The representatives, so-called representatives right now, are not representing working class people. They're representing oligarchs. The past laws, neoliberal laws, ensure that they set up a system to make sure that businesses gets the heck of, business corporate welfare while working class people struggle to make ends meet. Our representative is going to be the American truck driver, and we're going to ask him to join us on the spiritual sabbatical for 60 days and to park that truck for 60 days. Now, we can avoid all this, we tell the oligarchs, if you do simply calm the people, calm us down, say, hey, don't get too anxious here. Don't worry. I know that you're two paychecks away from homelessness here, and I know that you're about to make a heck of a sacrifice because by God, you're not. How are you going to make ends meet? You're going to be two months behind on your house payment. You can't work. You can't make your car payment. Your insurance company. Yeah. Calm down, and we'll say, yeah, sure, okay, we'll calm down. Just give us two things. I'll tell you what. We'll skip the sabbatical if you give us two things. Number one, give us free and fair elections with the supervision and the leadership of Lawrence Lessig. Now, Lawrence didn't ask for this. He don't even know what's going on. We just know from his experience for over 20, 30 years now that he's been fighting this battle along with copyright law, right? That he understands better than anybody what free and fair elections look like. So if he's happy, then we're happy. And also a mere vote on universal health care. We're not asking you to pass it, oligarchs. We're not telling your oligarchs. We're not telling you to get your representatives to pass free and fair universal health care. That's not what we're saying. We're saying oligarchs. We're saying tell your representatives because they're not damn sure not ours. We didn't pay for it. Our dollar didn't put them people in there. Your dollar did, and then you gave them to us to vote for. So your representatives, not ours. Tell them that if they vote, just a mere vote on universal health care, those two things, and we'll calm down, we won't go on a sabbatical, and we'll feel a lot better about our future going forward. That's how you do it. Okay, this is the plan, this is the situation, this is the strategy. And you also have to tell everybody you know that your uniform in your army, in the army of patriots to get our country back, is as simple wearing red and white on your body and putting red and white ribbons and streamers on your vehicle as you drive down the road. That's your uniform. That's your weapon. And that's your power. You just have to be seen as a soldier in the army of the patriot army to get our country back. It's pretty much, that's it in a nutshell. Now, I'm hoping that you subscribe to my channel. Please like, subscribe, and comment on my channel. And once you understand, I've got various channels going on here, various videos on this idea, on this strategy. And the more comfortable you feel about explaining the strategy to people, do your own video, do your own web page, put on your own Facebook page, whatever media you use, spreading this strategy to gather the soldiers, gather the army to fight back and get our country back from those neoliberals who are controlling our lives right now to the detriment of working class people. Now, once you understand, it's very, very important. So here's the thing. Here's what you got to do. Okay, I'm going to lay it out. Number one, study what neoliberalism is. Number two, study what modern monetary theory is. Number three, understand better that we can't fix anything because we got a lot of problems in America, but we're not going to be able to fix anything unless we fix this problem first, which is making sure that our government, our election system is set up to ensure that the people vote their people in, that we have free and fair elections. All right. And number four, understand that you as an individual, as one person, truly, sincerely, and really do have the power to get our country back. And this is why, because all you got to do is make a decision to fight. Once you recognize what the fight really is, then you have to decide to be a soldier. And once you decide, then you talk to your friends and your neighbors and your family members and your coworkers and ask them to do the same. And hopefully what we'll find is an America who understands its situation, who is patriotic, and who is willing to take the courage to fight back. And by the way, we're not going on a 60-day sabbatical. The reason for this is because once the neoliberals find the power that we discovered and the fact that a lot of people in America Huge amounts of people in America are 2 paychecks away from being homeless, and they're willing to have a crisis in their financial situation at home. They're willing to do that, they're willing to make that sacrifice to get our country back. If they actually allow the country to go on a 60-day sabbatical, does that not tell you that we're going to double down and we're going to fight even harder for our freedoms? Because that is a direct affront. If the people are speaking, when they put on their uniform, wear the red and white, and speak and stand up and fight, game on, game on. And we're not going to lose. We're not going to lose. It makes them shake in their boots. Once we reach critical mass, then, science says that we then will reach groupthink, that people at the shopping mall are going to start feeling really uncomfortable if they're not wearing red and white on their body, because they understand. Once we reach critical mass, they understand that these people wearing red and white are fighting for your freedom, fighting for your well-being, fighting against the neoliberals that are out to make sure that your life, that you don't get the American dream, because neoliberalism is all about taking the American dream away from you, making you work like a dog, 2 jobs just to make the minimum payment, and the ability to monopolize, and the ability to gamble on Wall Street and create financial crisis, the bailout banks. You understand? So anybody, there you go. Anybody caught not wearing the red and white will be like, oh, so you're a neoliberal? You like it that rich people make you go bankrupt if your baby gets sick? You like it that neoliberals are all about doing away with the sovereignty of the country, making it to where they only have areas to which they buy and sell through trade, bypassing sovereign countries' laws in order to profit? See how that works? It's powerful stuff. Look, I'm not the most eloquent person in the world. I'm not. You can tell, right? Yeah, as a matter of fact, I tried this earlier and tried to read from the script because I thought it was so important. Well, it didn't work out. So now I'm just being me. Like it or not, that's me. That's who I am. That's what I think. You know, let's hope that you have the courage to fight back. Join the army of the patriots. Fight for decency. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel and make your own channel. Okay, I guess that's all for now. I'm going to try to post once a day, if not 2 times a day. I'm going to try because I feel like I got to put a lot of these videos out in order to get a subscription, and it's not really about subscriptions for me. It's about passing the word out. And I'm hoping that you get your own channel going, right? YouTube, call it whatever you want. I call it Fight for Decency. But make sure that you include those 4 things. Number 1, you have to know what neoliberalism is. Number 2, you have to know what modern monetary theory is. Number 3, you have to know the first critical step to get our country back, which is free and fair elections. And number 4, you have to feel encouraged. You have to know and understand that you do, in fact, have the power to get our country back as an individual. And all you have to do is put on your uniform. Thanks. We'll talk again soon.